Thank you very much for having me up here. I wanted to ask a question about what it is I do and who I am as a teacher in a high school not far from here. I encounter a lot of resistance in my students. And I think that it's not just my students, but, sort of how we've set up the system, if you will, of educating
you
the future.
represent conditions that bind them to them. That's their perspective of you.
You've mentioned freedom.
They
Yes.
see you as a threat to their freedom.
Yes.
And so in their resisting of you, they're actually blocking their own freedom. That's really the whole conversation that we've been having here today.
Yeah.
So how could you help them to perceive yourself as not a threat to their freedom?
Thank you for asking that. I'd like to know.
By understanding, this conversation today has gone a long way in helping you to understand
It has.
that.
Everything everybody's asked has really resonated with me, and I appreciate this opportunity
So,
to ask you.
give us an example of some evidence that. So here's the vibrational atmosphere that you've been working on, and so an experience flows in that feels uncomfortable. Describe that uncomfortable experience of someone, the resistance that you're meeting with your students. For example, something that happens.
Well, resistance insofar as, if you will, I'll use the word competing with electronic devices, where students see a game as more important than perhaps creating a sentence that might be clear.
Not more important, more fun.
Okay, more fun. Yeah,
And we're
I like
on
that.
their side.
I'd like to be on their side, yeah. I'd like to create that, yeah.
So
What do I do?
So what is the nature of the device that they're on? They're playing a game.
They're playing a game, and
And why is that bothersome to you?
that's a good question. On a number of levels. One,
In other words, do you want to have a conversation with someone who's not interested in what you're saying?
right.
And do you acknowledge that there are some in the classroom who are interested in what you're saying and some in the classroom who are not interested in what you're saying?
Yes.
So why can you not just have a meaningful conversation with those who are interested in what you're saying? Is there a reason that you can't? In other words, have you been put in a position where you're supposed to control the behavior of the students?
I can't control them, but yet,
Oh,
yeah.
you can't control it.
That's
So
just
you
it.
might as well give that up. So since you can't control their behavior,
Yeah.
what do you have control over? This is the most important
Yeah.
question of the day or of ever. What do you have control over?
Your teachings have helped me to.
What
go
do
back
you
and
have
say,
control over?
Over me.
What do you have in this situation?
My reactions to them.
You have control over your reaction to them.
Yeah.
So, are you living a conditional love?
I am.
So
Sorry.
and doesn't almost everyone. In other words, so you acknowledge, well, I'm living a conditional love because I'm responding to your condition, and I got to tell you, it doesn't feel that good.
Yeah.
So I need you to be different than you're going to be, so that I can feel better.
Yeah.
Been there, done there, been there, done there, been there, done that. So now I'm not going to do that anymore. So if I'm not responding to the condition, now we talked about this earlier.
Yes.
The students that are attentive, oh, they warm your heart. The students who are not attentive, oh, they make you wonder why you exist at all.
Yes.
So, and all of it is a conditional love that's outside of you, that's controlled by something that you have no control over. So what is the alternative, given what we've been talking about here today? So you get up in the morning and you acknowledge that life is really good and that you've got a really good job and that you love working with these kids and that it's really fun because they still have some hopes and dreams about who they are, and so
Yes.
as a general rule they're really nice to be around, and so you've awakened with appreciation in this morning. And you did it on purpose because it would have been easy for you to remember the bad day that you had yesterday or the confrontation that you had with someone yesterday, but you chose not to do that today. Instead, you woke up deliberately looking for positive aspects and got enough momentum going in appreciation of life. We can feel your appreciation of life that you actually actually were able to turn your appreciation towards something specific to the work that you do, to the school where you are, to the kids who are in the school. And so you deliberately created a vibrational atmosphere that is different than you've ever walked into that classroom with before. In other words, you for the time that you were getting ready in the morning, you managed to create an atmosphere of unconditional love. In other words, because you didn't justify to Source why you should feel good. You just felt good. In other words, you allowed Source energy to fill you because of the thoughts that you deliberately thought this morning. And you just didn't do it this morning. You did it the next and the next and the next and the next and the next until after about a month of this, you're really, 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 really good at feeling the at oneness with Source, of acknowledging the well-being of your world. And now you're walking into a classroom owning that vibrational atmosphere. So now you're different in their world than you've ever been before. And you're not asking anything of them to be different in order for you. Feel this, hear this. You're asking nothing of them because you've accomplished it on your own. You made your agreement with Source. You discovered your alignment with Source. You found your reward with Source. You found your alignment with Source. You found your avenue of energy with Source. You found everything that you were looking for through your own alignment. And now you, really rare bird that you are, walked into a classroom and didn't only not demand anything of them, you asked nothing of them. You're the first one that they've ever met that made them feel truly free. Because in your subsequent behavior, in the way you conduct your classroom, it becomes pretty obvious to them that your happiness is not dependent upon anything that they do. Oh, they just got their first whiff of freedom and they didn't have to die to get it. They got their first real whiff of freedom. You are an aligned person, asking nothing of them, giving them everything because you're tuned in, tapped in, turned on, but asking nothing from them. There's nothing at stake here. There's no ulterior motive. There's no, I need you to do better because my teacher evaluation is dependent upon this. There's not any of that. There's just this open appreciation from one who's in alignment with Source to another who, in playing that game, may very well also be in alignment with Source. So now everything sort of shifts because in the moment that you are not requiring them to be different in order for you to feel better, they feel different about you. Their guard will go down. Think about it. Think about needy people in your life. Don't you want to avoid them? Think about those people who are determined to make you feel responsible for the way they feel. Isn't that a burden that is too great to bear? And haven't you noticed that you can't do enough to satisfy them? Because they're looking for it in all the wrong places. There's not enough of it coming through you. This conditional love thing is sort of rampant all around. Who's going to stop it? Who's going to be the one that loves unconditionally? Well, you are. So now they acknowledge you. They don't quite know what they're feeling, but they do acknowledge that you're nice to be around. And in your alignment, you'll be inspired to things that will catch their ear, that will catch their attention. They'll begin to notice that you've got it going on. And when they begin asking you, and they will, hey, what's up with you? You'll just say, I'm just appreciating how good life is for me. I'm just acknowledging how good I feel. I know it sounds corny, but I think this is a really great time to be alive, and things just could not be better for me. And I often think how wonderful it must be to be your age in this time with all of these possibilities. I'm just excited about what's out there for you.
Yes.
When I feel this good about what's out there for me, I can only imagine how good you must feel about what's out there for you. It will begin the conversation.
Yes.
And before you know it, they will begin expressing to you their defiance, because now they realize that you are with them, not against them. They'll begin expressing their discomfort, their defiance at a world that tries to control them. And then you can speak from personal experience. I used to feel that way. It bound me all up. But I know differently now. I realize I'm the only one that places the conditions, the obstacles that I stumble over. And once I stopped doing that, everything opened up wide for me. Opened up wide. And by the time you're having that conversation, 30 days in, as you have that conversation, they'll hear you. Not all of them, but some of them. Those that are asking. You're hearing it. You're hearing it. You know it. You know that you're the creator of your own reality, don't you?
Yeah.
You know that you live in a vibrational universe. And don't you know right now in this moment that abundance is surrounding you and doing everything it can to penetrate your crusty nature? And don't you feel softer today in your resistance than you have before? Don't you feel more open to receiving the abundance of love and the abundance of clarity and the abundance of vitality and the abundance of energy and the abundance of... Don't you feel more open to it than you have in a while? Don't you feel more of an eagerness for life than you've felt in a while? And so it's just a matter of acknowledging that and then live some life and feel it dissipate a little and then bring it back. In other words, there's no trial and error because there is no trial and there is no error, but through experience, just get better and better and better and better and better at this until you just feel good wherever you are. You're finally in this place of living unconditional love where you're able to love regardless of what's going on around you. That's the freedom that everyone is looking for, clamoring for it, begging for it, fighting for it, dying for it, struggling for it. And the thing that is so interesting about it is that it's the struggle you have to give up to find it, you see.